Welcome, everybody. We have a really great crowd tonight, and I'm so glad to see you all here. It makes us feel good on the inside, and it makes us feel good on the outside. So, thank you. Um, this evening is going to be a little different from our previous three sessions in that we're going to do a bit of an introduction. We're going to talk about where we've been, and then we're going to talk about where we're going. And that part about where we're going is going to be in breakout rooms. We're going to separate people by chapter, precinct, and then those people who are at large. So a lot of it will be conversation among yourselves, and then we're going to have some time to report back. So hopefully everybody feels ready and excited to get going for those midterms. So if you have a question, I don't think that there are going to be many, please type it in the chat with star question, and we will either get to you before we go into breakout, or I suspect a lot of the questions will be answered after the breakout too, but there will be a time at the end of this session for questions. So let's take a look at what we're going to do today. Annie, if you wanted to stick, I think I've covered it, but just put the next slide on would be great.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you can see the slides. Can you see the slides?
I can see the slide.
I
Okay.
can. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, as I said, this is what we're going to be doing today. Introductions from Annie and I, and then you guys will have chances to introduce yourself in your smaller groups. We're going to look, I'm going to show you where the links are to the past sessions in case you've missed any. We're going to look a little bit about generally our Get Out the Vote coordinator, amazing Annie Grawl, is going to talk about the 2026 GOTV strategy. Then we're going to go into breakout rooms where they're going to come back and report out on our discussions, and then we'll have time for questions. So Andy, if you want to pop on the next slide. I am Helen Morgan. I'm number 2 on this list. I'm the chair of DA Sevilla, and here is my Signal and WhatsApp and telephone number if anybody ever picks up a phone and puts something to their ear. Here's my email. I am delighted to answer questions, however I can be of assistance. It's what drives both Annie and I is getting out the word and then helping people and be a resource for people, especially as it relates to get out the vote. But I am not the official Get Out the Vote coordinator for Spain. That is Annie Grawl. And so Annie's going to tell you a little bit about her new role and what she anticipates being able to do for you guys as we head towards the midterms.
Okay. Hi, my name is Annie Grawl. I'm the vice chair of DA Barcelona, and I'm also a DPCA voting representative for Spain. And I recently stepped up to be the GOTV coordinator because nobody else did. So, what this role entails is a work in progress. To be honest, in the years that I have been in Democrats Abroad Spain involved in leadership, which is now almost 10 years, I have not known anybody to fill this role in Spain. So we're kind of breaking ground here. It's important. It's an important, I think the most important work that we do is getting out the vote. And it's really important that we all be on the same page. And so my role, as I understand it, is to be a conduit from global and EMEA down to DA Spain and from me down to the chapters, and just to make sure that everybody has the same information and is working from the same playbook. I'm here to be a resource for you. I'm here to support your chapter initiatives and help all of us to be successful together. I'm not here to do the work for you, but I'm here to help you know how to do the work yourselves in your local chapters, where to find the information you need, who is the person you need to talk to if you have questions, and I can't help you. So I am definitely available on Signal, email, any time of the day. I do have a 9 to 5 job, so if you're going to call me, please call me after 5 p.m. And I will talk to you on the phone then at that time. And yeah, just hope we can all be really successful doing this together.
Thank you, Annie. And I will echo some of the comments and some of the emojis coming through. Annie He's one of the busiest people that I know. And as they say, when you want a job done, look to the busiest person you know, and they will add it to their plate. And Annie has done that. She's an incredible resource. She's also really well known and respected globally. And so, if there's something that you want to know about what they're doing at Global Communications, or at, she knows Martha well, who is our chair of Democrats Abroad globally. And so Annie is a great conduit for that, and just an incredible wealth of information. So thank you, Annie, for what you have done and what you are going to do.
And
So
making
let's look at our
connections.
next slide very briefly to take a look at where we've come from. So we've had 3 sessions already. We started back in September about introduction to voting from abroad. Um, this document here that you have the link to contains the recording from that session. It also contains, so in the introduction to voting from abroad, we really talked about how we are different as voters from abroad, the federal law that covers us, and why it's so important to use Vote from Abroad as a resource. And Annie's just put that document too in the chat. Thanks, Annie. The second event that we had talked about hosting a Get Out the Vote event. We have the recording in this document too, as well as the slides. Why are the slides important? Because the slides give you the links to all those phenomenal resources that we have. So you hear talk about the wiki, you hear talk about Mighty, and all the links and how to access all that wonderful resource information is all to be found in this on the slides, which are included in this Google document. And finally, our third session, which was just a few weeks ago with Heidi Birch, that was 90 minutes. Thanks for everybody for hanging in there. It was how to become a certified voter assistant. So it was how to request your ballot, and then how to how to register and request your ballot, and then how to return your ballot. For all of you who have watched that video session and who RSVP, you should have received an email that contained 2 quizzes. Once you take and pass those quizzes, you can take them as many times as you need to, you are then a certified voting assistant. We really encourage you, once you pass those quizzes, to then join the 2 signal groups that are available globally. One is an announcement group. So for example, if we're 3 weeks out from the election and something funky is happening in Nashville, Tennessee, where the local election official is doing something that she shouldn't be doing, and we're aware of it, there'll be an announcement about it, and we're better able to tailor our responses to our voters because of it. And then there's also a chat group where you can ask any and all questions as it relates to voter registration. So keep a lookout for those. I see a couple of hands up. Is there anything that we need to address right now? If you want to put in the chat, do you see those, Annie? I see both Dermot and Elizabeth have hands up.
I can put it in the chat.
Great, fantastic. Elizabeth, you want to put in the chat? And Annie, while you're watching that, I'm going to move on to our next slide. So that's where we've been. And then this is where we're going next year. I want to remind everybody that Democrats Abroad Spain is part of a big organization that is Democrats Abroad globally. And so everything that we do should be complementing what Global is doing. And so you will find for this calendar right here, and Annie, maybe you can put the link in as well in the chat.
Yeah, I just did.
That will tell you, for example, in January, what emails are going out to all membership, what emails are going out to specific voters in specific locations, because they may have something that is of particular interest for them. They also communicate with Global Communications. So it'll tell you about what Global Communications are going out to complement the work of Vote from Abroad. So we are not in Spain, we are not an island. We are working in a team. We're all rowing down the same river, whether it be the Guadalquivir or the Nile or whatever it is. And so make sure when you're thinking about getting out the vote strategies that you keep this calendar in mind, because if you're going to send out something that says, don't forget to vote in New York's primary tomorrow, and the same email went out the same day from Global, we are much less effective. much better to see what they're doing and then maybe send out an email to the folks just in your chapter a few days later saying, hey, hope you saw Global's email. I'm just following up and in encouraging to make sure that you get your ballot turned in. So I see Elizabeth, November 25th, about follow up from the training. Great. So the email should have come out, would have come out as it relates to Heidi's training. And that's right. And if you did not get it, please just let us know. We'll get it to you. Now, quickly going on, because again, we want to get back into our groups. I'm going to turn this over to Annie, who is our GOTV coordinator, as you know, to think a little bit about our strategy in Spain for 2026, and then we're going to break out into chapters.
Okay. So the first thing that I want you guys all to remember, I want you to always remember this, is getting out the vote is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Okay, we're going to start on January 15th and we're going to keep going all the way through the year. That means that the more people that you have on your team, the easier it's going to be because you can pace each other. It's a lot easier to run a marathon if it's as a relay compared to doing it all by yourself. Or, people who sing in a choir take turns breathing. And that's what we have to do as a team. We can't all be trying to carry the weight by ourselves throughout the course of the year. So if you're talking to other members of your chapter, anybody seems interested in helping with this work, we can get them trained up at any time. Please bring them back to us or encourage them to sign up for the courses that will be held throughout the year on the DA website and grow your team consistently. Okay. As far as our members, we want to try and get everybody to submit their FPCAs, their voter registration forms, as early in the year as possible. This has two advantages for us. Well, it has a couple of different advantages. For us, it will make the work later on in the year when you get the last minute people who never knew that they could vote. Um, and they have a last minute rush with those people. The members will be all taken care of and out of the way. It's also really helpful because when people, especially are registering for the first time, or if there have been changes back home with their local election official, if any problems should arise, there's plenty of time to know that before the November election. I can tell you a personal story that happened to me last year. I sent my FPCA in to my Leo, as I do every year, and for the first time ever, I did not hear back from her. And I waited about 2 weeks, and finally I sent her an email and I said, "Did you ever get my FPCA?" And she said, "Oh no, my email address has been changed and it didn't get forwarded." And so I found that out in March, and I was in plenty of time to vote in the general election and in the primary election because I vote in a state that's later in the year. But it's really important to get these things done early in the year. Heather says not to use acronyms. I'm hoping that by now we all know what the FPCA is, but if you need a refresher, that's your federal postcard application. That's the form that we help everybody fill out on the Vote from Abroad website. Okay. So again, if you file your paperwork early in the year, you help us out by getting all of the paperwork by our members done early in the year. You help yourself out by making sure that if there are any glitches, early in the game. You also, if you register early in the year, can participate in primary elections. Primary elections are where a lot of the big decisions are made, depending on what your district looks like. And with all the gerrymandering going on back in the US, primary elections are really the only ones that matter because the general election outcome in a lot of these districts is predetermined. LEO is local election official. Yes, thank you, Alexia. Overseas voters do get to vote in primaries, but you need to be registered early enough to get your ballot for that. Okay, so that's the voter registration part of the year. And in the second half of the year, actually for the primary elections as well, we have to help so many of our voters to return their ballots. And so we're going to also be participating in that part of the work. as we did in our training session last month with Heidi. The first session was about helping voters request their ballot, and the second was helping voters to return their ballots. Remember that if you register as an overseas voter using the FPCA, the federal postcard application, your ballot will be sent to you electronically, hopefully by email, and it should arrive no less than 45 days before the election. So that means that ballot drop day for most people will be September 19th, 45 days before the election. So we can start thinking about building events around those dates too, around that date as well. Another thing to remember is that many states require ballots to be sent back by postal mail. And we all know that the postal mail is a disaster. It was a disaster last year, and it's going to be even more of a disaster this year. So we need to encourage everybody to send their ballots back as soon as possible. Um, just in general, think about all of your chapter events that you hold this year and consider all of them as a potential GOTV event. So whether you're having a chapter meeting, your AGM, or a movie night or a book club, every single event that you hold should have a GOTV element to it. I just saw that we have a spelling error here on the slide. It says GTOV. GOTV. So yeah, ask everybody who comes to your events, are they registered? Have they sent in their federal postcard application? And if they're not sure, just remind them, get a QR code or give them a card, make sure that they understand that they have to register to vote this year. If you have 5 minutes and you can help them do it right then and there, extra points for that. And also remember that the kind of events that you do will be best tailored to your location. So that's what we're going to talk about now in the breakout rooms are the kind of events that work best in your with your membership and in your location. Whether you have a lot of foreign students coming overseas, or if you have a lot of retirees, or if you have a large military community, think about the kind of events that will work best for your location. Okay, so we're going to go into the breakout rooms. And we're going to discuss a series of questions. Yes, I will bring, oh wait, December 18th meeting. Is that for me, Renee?
That's going to be for good for Malaga.
Okay, okay. All right. We are going to go into breakout rooms by chapter. If there are any at-large members here, those are people who don't have a local chapter or precinct, but you're just a DA Spain at-large member. If you are an at-large member, please stay in the main room, and everybody else is going to go into breakout rooms. And we are going to go through these 6 questions. I'll share in a minute in the chat box. I'll share a online version of this list so that you can have it handy with your group. The first 3 questions should be pretty quick for each of you to answer. The main focus that we really want to talk about are the last 3 questions. We'd like you to bring your takeaways from those back to the main group after the breakout session. So we're going to be when I share the breakout room, I want you to choose your own room. Okay, you're not going to be assigned. I want you to choose your own room. Jim Mercero, I see you've joined the call. You can stay with the at-large members, or you can go to the Madrid room, whatever you feel.
I'll do at large.
Okay, the at-large room will be the main room, so you don't have to go into the breakout. I'm going to just stop the recording now because. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope that was productive. And we're gonna just report out a little bit your ideas, your takeaways, your thoughts. I don't know if your group got all the way through everything. Mine did not, but we would like to hear from the rest of you about the last 3 questions that were on the list. Do you want me to put that slide back up, or is that not necessary, right? We all have the printout. So we're going to start with Madrid.
Great.
Yeah, so we have a January 15th event in the works. I think what we're aiming to move towards is having like more coordination in terms of what groups folks can reach out to and really putting in place a plan and calling for volunteers or members to do specific outreach to the different groups and then also in spaces that Americans tend to congregate or frequent in Madrid. I mean, here in Madrid, we have like an American club, we've got the American school, we've got like different like kind of expat, whatever community groups. So doing like very targeted outreach to those and in that attracting new folks and also what was the other thing, oh, thinking about how we can get members to take on organizing local like hyper local events, so thinking about the people that not only live like outside of Madrid, if any of you are familiar with it, in like El Escorial or like Alcalá de Henares, like these places that are still part of Madrid but are not as communicated with the comunicado, whatever, connected with the center of Madrid where we tend to organize our events, but then also like within Madrid, the city itself, having folks take on, organization of coffees in their different neighborhoods that can be like low key informal events, but that give, yeah, more people opportunities to connect with folk from abroad and with us. So, yeah.
I like that hyper localized event. That's good, more intimate and a little bit probably more
And spreading out the
interesting.
work, right? Because we, as an XCOM, cannot take on organizing all of the events and being at all of them in all the places. So
Good idea. Malaga, those
Well, so we have a kind of a different challenge than some of the other chapters because we're really spread out geographically. We have Malaga City and we have good attendance at our monthly meetings. But our DA members are spread out all up and down a long coastline. So our key goal this year to get out the vote is to try and get outside of Malaga and reach a few concentrations, we hope, of Americans in some of the other communities.
Mhm.
Probably our first place we're going to go is Nerja, which is north of Malaga, because we've actually done an event there. We had a lunch a year or two ago. I guess it was a little over a year ago. And we have a very active member there, Judy Rust, who is actually on the Nerja Town Council. So we can work with her and our volunteers. We will all work together to try and identify and reach out to Americans there. And then hopefully that will serve as a model for events, maybe in the mid coast. Pam happens to live in Mijas, and that is very close to some other concentrations of populations. We don't have places Americans congregate. We have a lot of groups where expats congregate, but most of them are not Americans. So we're really going to try to piggyback, I think, off of the existing DA members that we have in our database and say, hey, if you know other Americans or how to reach
Mhm.
other Americans in your community, please invite them. We are here to help you register and vote this year. We also are going to do we didn't talk about this in our breakout, but for January 15th, it happens to be our regularly scheduled meeting date. So my goal for that meeting is to make it a voter registration meeting so that we're going to bring a couple laptops. We're going to get a portable printer and we're going to ask for some funding for that. That's something that we will need. And we'll just, help every attendee that day make sure that they filled out the form, printed it out, and they're ready to send it back. So that's our goal for the 15th.
Excellent. Sibby, yeah.
Hello. We're going to riff on a theme. Our International Voter Registration Day. We have a local theater called Uprooted Theater, and it is English speaking. We also, Caroline and I, happen to know the person who runs it, so we're going to do an event there to try and attract before one of their theater performances. So hopefully attract people to come early. One of the things, talking about a tried and true thing, just as people have been talking about. So both Caroline and I are members of the American Women's Club. So every time they have an event, we set up a voter registration table. But Caroline and I are now talking about having a specific event for the American Women's Club for voter registration, because I think there's going to be we have such an explosion in membership. There's, I think, over 300. Is that right, Caroline, members?
275.
Yeah. And so just to offer, come on in and we will tell you as Vote from Abroad how to vote from Spain. We are also going to, our goal is to do some student registration this spring because Annie, your point about the primaries is really interesting. Let's see if we can get some kids who are interested politically in to be able to vote in their primaries this year because then they will go back as hopefully as activated and engaged voters. So starting doing student registration even earlier than we normally would do. And then we will do something else as it comes closer, probably not July because it gets too hot here, but we'll do another event. Also making sure that we're starting to hit all those Facebook groups because there's lots of expat groups that we haven't been doing recently. So there we go. That was us.
Awesome. I'm just going to share the link to the list of questions because Ben told me that he didn't see it in the breakout room. I don't know if that was a
No, I didn't see it either.
failure.
We didn't have it.
Sorry about that. I guess that's one thing that doesn't work in the breakout rooms.
It's all right.
Valencia. This
Uh,
is a really good takeaway so far, you guys. This is great.
yeah.
I'm taking tons of notes.
Jeremy, do you
Yeah.
want to take it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Love to.
Thanks.
So we already have a legacy event planned on January 9th. So it's going to kind of be our soft kickoff for GOTV for our local members. I mean, we usually have 35 to 50 people attend those. So it'll be a really good way to kind of get people started in and thinking about GOTV. For the actual event itself, so we have secured a event space for January 14th, 15th, and 16th, where we will be setting up a kind of a help desk or a support desk for folks if they have any problems getting registered using the app. They can come in, talk to a person, sit down, we can help them and kind of do that in person. Over a 3-day period, just a couple hours at night. And then we're looking for a cafe for the mornings for people who aren't night owls to kind of do the same thing. As far as July, it's a little tricky. We don't traditionally have a big event here because it gets hot here and a lot of people leave. So we're actually looking at some venues to maybe do something in June. We have one of the local FIAS houses here that we partner with for Thanksgiving and maybe look at doing an event of that size. Like at Thanksgiving, we had like 200 people to attend the event and everything. So that was one thing we were looking at. And then we have several universities. We were thinking about late fall, but since some people brought up the spring, I'm kind of rethinking that. I may steal that idea because like we have the University of Florida here, we have Berkeley, we also have the University of Valencia, the Polytechnic. We have a lot of universities we could reach out to some students. So we may look at doing that in spring. I've got a meeting set up with the former coordinator who has a ton of contacts with those universities. And then finally, we didn't really get to talk about it, but we did it last year, so we're probably going to do it again. We set up at a cafe once ballots start shipping out and people start getting them. I think we did a week last year or last time, Heather,
Yeah.
where we a cafe that is right next to the consulate, so people can come in. They have problem or questions or whatever. We help them make sure they pack their ballot in an envelope and then walk it to the consulate and drop it in the mailbox if we can get them in early. So that's kind of our high level plan at this point in Valencia.
Wow, that sounds really great. We have ballot return envelopes if you need ballot return envelopes, you or any of the other chapters. I have a box of them. It's like, I don't know how many thousand envelopes sitting in my storage room. So we can get those.
Awesome.
And near the consulate is really a good idea.
Mhm.
Your consulate is centrally located, I think.
It is
Yes.
Yeah,
very
it's
convenient.
Yeah, Barcelona
it's
consulate is very out of the main drag. Alicante. Edwin.
Yes, great ideas. We're going to do a January 15th drive. Hello, Heather. I'll see you in Valencia.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, it'd be great to share some ideas with you. We
Yes.
have the same January 15th. I'm looking at three events we can pull it off. January 15th could be because we have the same problem as Malaga, spread out along the coast, and everybody's enjoying the sun and sangria, and we're looking at trying to develop cells, as Daniel Garcia told me when I was talking to him when he was president, to develop cells in the different communities, which it could be very difficult, but we're working on that. However, back to the 15th, it'll either be a in-person event or possibly a Zoom with the members. And then we're looking at not maybe February, but March, having all inclusive event, including non-DA members. There are a lot of Americans living in Alicante, like in Malaga, like in many of the places that are not DA, but they do vote and they are interested in voting. So, and then again, like everybody's saying, in July, it's a little bit hot. So, I mean, we could have a beach blanket banana thing, but that that might not be a bad idea. Actually, there's a hotel right on the beach in Alicante. But anyway, we're looking at those three things to start the ball rolling. But January 15th is like a feeler. We're going to RSVP, see how many people. If we have like our regular 25 people coming, great. I'll set up a in-person event. But if it's just a Zoom kind of thing, then I don't know. We'll have to look at that. Depends on how many people. But what I'm saying is January, then turn around February. No, it'll have to be maybe March. So,
Great.
yeah.
All right. Lots of good
The-
ideas coming up here.
in Malaga, if you can tell me if what works for developing cells, please do so.
We'll have
Because
to
I
let you
know,
know.
like, for example, Mark Morris lives in Torrevieja, and I'm telling him start a cell there, start a cell there, and I think he's still in the States. I don't.
He is.
He is?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Anyway, are we 77? Yeah. Anyway, so if you had Malaga has ideas how to set up these small little cell communities for DA, that'd be great. Please let me know. Okay. Is that you, Nancy Pfeiffer? Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm
Okay,
Edmund.
Barcelona.
Please exchange ideas with me how we can set that up.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of new ideas that we've come up with. We also have the 15th under control because it's our normal Thursday night. But people in our chat brought up the fact that it's a Barcelona, it's a Democrats Abroad event, and that we need to be very careful to when we go outside of our group to be sure it's nonpartisan, especially when we go to certain bars or certain places, schools, for example, we have to be nonpartisan. Lots of try to, get into or send out messages to American expat groups in Barcelona, Facebook, Digital Nomads. But make sure everything's a nonpartisan and officially vote from abroad. Also, Meetup is another place that we were already involved. We were already in, and so just to use that space, but to again make it nonpartisan, vote from abroad. The same thing what Ben and Barbara just put, because that was something we discussed, was going to like Belushi's, where we had the Thanksgiving dinner as a sports bar. And so going to before the sports actually start, but big sporting events. I was thinking this football, American football, March Madness, and then being there again, nonpartisan, before any major sporting event. I'm not really sure how much interest they'd be, because sometimes those people are already drunk when they arrive. But anyway, yeah. So another comment was to make sure to have things on weekends, because at the moment our events are mostly during the week. Make sure to have weekend events. The 4th of July also came up, as we usually have a 4th of July party. When we have protests, which I assume we'll have more, to have a table there which we did do in the last protest, and we did have some questions and some people. We did not encourage people to vote, to register because it was October. No, it was like too late for the November elections and too soon for 2026. But I think that if we are doing another protest at some time in the future, it's a great place to do that. We didn't actually talk about this in our group, but we are working right now, and I'm calling them satellite groups. We are also in the process of doing something like that. We had a meeting in Sitges a couple weeks ago. We've got one set up in Tarragona, which is 2 hours south of Barcelona, for next week. We've got one being planned in Tortosa, and we've got another person who's willing to set one up in Girona, which is in the north, about an hour and a half.
Fantastic.
So yeah, they're very small, but that's okay. And again, the concern about being Democrats abroad versus vote from abroad, and making sure that the location that is hosting it, if they're not comfortable with a political party, to emphasize it's a vote from abroad event and not a Democrats abroad event. So I think that's everything. I don't know if anyone in Barcelona wants to add something, if I've forgotten anything.
Okay, if not, Granada.
Okay. Well, we're definitely working on the January event. We're not quite sure of where it's going to take place or what type of event it will be, but we're committed, and I've got the people working with me, which I'm happy to share. I was kind of by myself. I've got some great assistance and partnering, and we are full of ideas and dealing with the concerns that you've all mentioned, like how to reach new Americans, because Granada is a little different. It's not a big city, so I don't know where these Americans are hanging out, except in the Albaicin. In our neighborhood, there's a lot here, and we kind of know each other. I'm sure there are lots out there. And there's also the coastal community. So we are trying to make there are members there, but they're not active currently. And so we're thinking about having an event over there too during the spring, the first part of the year, because in summer, everything changes. So that's our concern, is the first event, if it's going to be mainly for members and just getting them motivated, and then try to work on the longer game of getting at the public, just general public, new people, how to make that happen. That's I'm not sure about, except the usual, then the methods of, what's up, the community connection groups and things like that. What else? I need to mention. Can you, my two helpers, do you want to add anything to that? I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Jeannie or
No, I think those are the ideas. I mean, I think we have an idea on Granada itself, and then reactivating the members, especially along the coast. And one interesting idea is, the Malaga chapter, they're going to do an event in Nerja, and Almunecar is really close by. I mean, I'm just wondering if there's something that we could do to join forces there along the coast and just activate the coast altogether. That would be very interesting. So, because, Almunecar and Nerja are going to be your two big communities, and they're pretty close by. I mean, what's sandwiched in the middle is La Herradura. So, who knows? I mean, maybe there's an event that we could entice, people to come.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm answering the questions or not, but
yeah, no, that's great.
I can think of saying.
That's great. I'm seeing some really good common threads here, and I think that the idea of collaborating between chapters and, like where one chapter ends, the next chapter begins. So there's overlap areas, and we can definitely help each other out. Danielle, are you still on the call? Did you want to talk about Mallorca? Yeah. Maybe not. Jim, did you have any? Oh, there she is. Wait, you're on mute.
Got two lovely kids.
You're on mute, Danielle.
Oops. Hey. I just quickly had a look.
Hey!
Hold on. Just all right, they're gonna
Your assistants.
I just quickly had a look on Facebook, and there's a ton of expats in Mallorca group. There's actually one Americas in Mallorca private group with 1,978
Whoa.
members. So in our room, we talked about, I was saying to try to recruit some auxiliaries, but no, I'm gonna try to focus on the expats living in Mallorca. And my plan, I realistically don't see me doing anything before February because my two small children are being on vacation until the 8th of January. So my plan is early February to organize an in-person event, a friend who has a bar, and just try to start, first event. I still have work to do. I have to read the last video, listen to the last video, but my plan is just start putting the word out and plan an event. And then once I have the event, share that and try to get people to come and have our first meeting and talk about registering and everything. So,
Hey, Danielle,
yes.
you might try to find out who the administrator of that is and
Mhm.
use that Facebook group as a
Mhm.
launching.
Yeah, I was thinking that there's at least 10 expat groups here in Mallorca, so I'm gonna start with that one and see. I think that's a good start. But that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, can I just make a comment here? Danielle, once you have a place and a time and everything, I can actually send out an email blast to people who just live in Mallorca, who are already DA members.
Okay, thank you. That'd be great.
Say, this time, this place, come and get together. And
Perfect.
that would get DA members out and because on Facebook, you often have trouble with partisan. A lot of Facebook groups won't let political parties. If you say you're Democrats abroad, they won't allow you to post. Vote abroad,
Okay.
absolutely, but Democrats abroad, not. And
But
we
you
found
could
that.
do vote from abroad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Vote from abroad. Okay,
Yeah.
so because I was gonna join the group, so to ask, why would you like to join the group? So I shouldn't mention anything about
But once
being for
you
vote
get
from abroad.
once you get a site and a place and everything, let me know, and then I can just for people who have Nation Builder access, there's an option called Maps, and you can actually create. You can like use the map, and you can draw lines around a certain place, and then you can make a list of all the people who are in that area, and then create a list, and then use them for an email blast. That's what we've done
Okay.
at Scotia.
All right, we can talk about that.
No, I would have to do it because you don't have
Okay.
Nation Builder.
Okay, perfect.
I would have to do it for you, but
I'm
I mean, you
sorry.
can coordinate. That's easy. Yeah.
Perfect.
Also, just to say, Danielle, if you have a first meeting or something and you want to do voter registration, because then it's February, that you can have one or more of us just on a Zoom call on a laptop. I mean, I'd be willing to hang out while you do a couple of, and we can just take credit. You don't have to like do organizer and be the expert and have all the answers, but we could be two or three of us could be on a Zoom thing. And if there's questions, people could just ask us. I don't know if that's
Yeah, that
helpful.
would be
Don't feel
great.
like you have to
Definitely.
be the
Me too.
expert right off the bat.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Just a suggestion too, Whaling has like 15 to 20 euro round trip flights from Barcelona during January, February. So, if anyone wants to like go and from Barcelona, for the day to Mallorca, I'm happy to be a volunteer.
That'd be wonderful.
Following up on the Facebook comment, Ben had sent me a message earlier asking if there's Facebook materials that we can post or any kind of social media materials that we can post. I have a request into the Global Comms team for International Voter Registration Day social media content. And as soon as I get that, I will send it out to all of you guys so that you can put it on your own accounts. It's just going to be a generic one that doesn't say, the place and time and the chapter name. You can put that information in the comments or accompanying the images when they arrive. We can get other things from the global social media team or we have some new people who have volunteered recently to help with social media accounts and content and things. So anything that you have conceptually, but you can't figure out how to convert it into a shareable GIF, just reach out and we'll find somebody who can work on that. But don't wait until the last minute because the turnaround time on these things can be a while. Everybody's volunteers. So any Jim, did you have anything that you wanted to put on the map for up north? That's
Well,
our part of Spain that's a little bit uncovered right now.
I'm hoping to do like a voter table or something in Bilbao, maybe on a Saturday at the market or something like that. Put up a table and an American flag and see what happens. I know there's quite a few from previous phone banks. There's quite a few Basque people who left during the Civil War, and then they returned, or their children returned, mostly from Idaho, Colorado. They were shepherds, and there's a whole bunch of them. So hopefully we can reach out to some of these folks and get more people registered in Bilbao. Not to mention, there's also I went to the dentist, and my dentist's husband is an American engineer who's working in Bilbao. So I'm sure there's a lot of that kind of thing going on as well.
Yeah, that's another way of reaching people is just finding those local businesses that are run by Americans or that cater to Americans, people who've just arrived and don't speak great Spanish and need to get, dental work or a haircut or whatever. Those places are excellent venues to drop off a little stack of vote from abroad cards or something. Ask if you can put them next to the cash register and and increase our outreach that way too. So if anybody wants to print up cards, I can send you the artwork and the name of a really inexpensive online place that I did a trial run on and was pleased with the results. So, did I forget anybody? Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Helen, do you want to wrap things up? Are we
Yeah,
done?
I'd love to. So this is just the beginning. We're launching. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's really incredible that you're here, that you're dedicated. It's wonderful to see faces I've known for many years. And I have to be honest, it's even better to see new faces because that's how we're going to spread the word even further and deeper. We are here to help you. Annie talked about ordering cards. We have resources. They're not unlimited. But we're not flying you to Mallorca for Danielle's first event, although we'd love to. But we can get you business cards, and we can get you reimbursed for those. So Annie is your contact. You have that information. We will send up a follow-up email with the recording of this session. We will also probably be doing some follow-up in the next 2 or 3 months to make sure that we all stay in touch. We check in and see how each other is doing. But in the meantime, don't be strangers. Have felices fiestas a todos y nos vemos el año que viene, que espero que todo vaya un poquito mejor el año que viene que el año pasado.